How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video. Now, if you're watching this video, I'm actually currently recording the whole maintenance ordeal on the Avant and ran into a little bit of a problem, but I have a complete solution for it. Now, the problem that we've run into is during disassembly, I actually broke the factory crankcase breather hoses, the one that connects to each of the valve covers and the back of the intake manifold. You know, I kind of need a fix now, and I don't want to wait for parts. My solution is to install an entirely custom catch can system to also help with the carbon cleaning, but to fix the problem of that I broke the hose. Now, just as a little demonstration, I'm going to show you guys how the factory PCV system actually works. So right here, we have both of the connectors that go to each of the valve covers, and they each feed into this Y pipe right here. Now, this Y pipe then feeds into the PCV system down in your motor. It cleans the air and sends it back up through this tube to the back of your intake manifold. Now, the problem with the factory intake manifold is that it leaves a bunch of carbon, and I mean a bunch. And this will semi-help with keeping the valves clean. Now, I have boxes and boxes of stuff to help me set up this entire catch can, which surprisingly actually costs cheaper than the factory PCV hose itself. So what we will be doing is keeping all of our factory connections that go to each of the OEM parts, the back of the PC valve, the back of the intake manifold, which is still on the manifold, by the way, and each of the valve cover, connectors. But we are going to put them back where they go. I'm going to have some braided AN lines. All of these are AN fittings because these things look cool and fuck it, why not? But we are going to take these two guys and we have to connect them into one circuit. Well, to connect them into one circuit, I have this little T. So we're gonna connect each of these into their respective areas with hose and fittings. Have the hose run to the inlet side on the catch can. And yes, this is a cheap catch can, but then again, this is a daily, who gives a fuck? And then from here, we'll have the catch can run all the way back one of these, and I'll block off the other one with a plug. And then from here, we'll send it straight to the back of the intake manifold. Now, we'll be linking everything I used down in the description in case you guys want to do this setup for yourself. And this is universal for any 3.2 FSI engine. Maybe the 3.0s, I'm not exactly sure, but the 2.0s, they already have their own thing. I know the 3.0s have their own thing, but nothing for the 3.2. So we're doing something different. So first we're gonna start by setting up the catch can. All right, so first we're gonna set up the oil catch can, and to set this up, we're actually gonna take it apart. And we'll take our dipstick off too. So there's a little, this little baffle down here, and we're actually gonna unscrew this off. We're gonna take some of these supplied steel wool, and we're gonna cut some of it, shove it into this little bowl, and we'll screw this back on. Alright, so after we got our piece cut, we're just gonna shove it down in here as best as we can. And while keeping it on the bowl, we're gonna screw it back into this piece. Now we can reassemble our catch cans. Next, we need to pick out our fittings for these. So since I'm using 10AN lines for everything, we're gonna actually use these 10AN adapters to whatever the red screws are. And to get these snug, I'm actually gonna go grab my AN wrench, because since all of this is aluminum, we don't wanna ruin these. Got my AN wrench. These things are relatively cheap. I think I bought mine on Amazon for maybe about $10. Now that we got our fittings all snug, we can start designing how our lines are going to be ran. So for that, we're going to have to go back up. So I got the catch can semi-set. I can't actually reach these screws, so I think I'm going to take a knife or a Dremel and cut just a little square out of this lip right here, so that gives me enough room to slide the tool in and just barely turn it. Bam! Catch can mounted. Look at that. It's a little loose, but I did manage to get it tight with just that one bolt down here that I showed you. The next thing we're going to do is grab our OEM fittings for here and here, start plumbing them together and bring them into the feed. We're back after a bunch of trial and error. Turns out my entire plan was dog shit. So I got some new stuff on the way. But what I have back here is the braided line is attached. I just set this in here for now. But this is the three-way PCV connector that I showed you guys. This is the side that goes back to the intake manifold. This middle one I blocked off with a silicone nipple kind of thing. I don't know what the hell you'd call it. But over on this side, I attached the braided hose clamp. I'm gonna run it around and put it right here in front of, or on the outside of the catch can. And yes, it is going to block the oil fill cap, unfortunately, but I can't think of another way to mount it. And like I said, it's literally nothing to just unscrew the lines, and because realistically you're supposed to change this every time you change your oil. We're gonna measure this to about the end of this fitting, which is where I'll cut it, and then we'll take this fitting off, clamp it down onto here, and then wait for the new stuff to come in to finish the feed side of the catch can. First run has successfully been completed, and this is our outlet. And I did move this bracket again. I actually ended up using this. I snipped off that little piece where this was originally mounted, and I also snipped just a little square right here. These are 2 self-tappers. There's nothing underneath here. If you guys are afraid of hitting something, there's this wiring harness right here, which is the main fan plug. I have it running in between the catch can and the bracket. Now we actually have to wait for parts so we can finish our inlet, connect up these 2 to our inlet, and then connect this guy right here to the back of our intake manifold, and we are good to go. Well, here I am spending $30 at Ace. I couldn't wait. It's got to get done. Oh yeah. New plan. Got some 5/8 hose. We're just gonna shove the ends on here with some hose clamps. And for this guy, we're just gonna shove the hose on here as well, because I'm not waiting for a new one. We're gonna shove it on here and here and shove this somewhere back here. And then this guy, we'll use an AN line with the rest of the braided, run it to here. So this is where we're at so far. Both of these AN lines are now plumbed up. I did damage them a little bit. I got this, I guess, connector right here, whatever this is. This hose runs back down here. I got both of these rubber hoses running up to this T, and this T will sit right here. Next, I'm just gonna add the last AN fitting right here. Plumb this up, and then we can shove our last hose on this guy down here, and then we can put our intake manifold back on and finish the install. All right guys, so for the catch can, I did a bunch of revisions. This back hose is pretty damn kinked. To be honest, I've tried everything to not get it kinked. Air still passes through the entire system perfectly fine. I've sent compressed air down through here, and I can feel it coming out of the intake manifold from underneath, so that's good. This hose has no longer been routed down. It now comes up and over the intake, fits a lot better. And I think I've got everything worked out for the catch can system for the 3.2. Granted, I honestly hate how this is. It's not the best, but honestly, it was 10 times cheaper than getting the factory PCV valve. This is gonna save this motor from any more excessive carbon. If I can do just a little bit to prevent it and keep it going for its 200,000 mile life, I'm gonna keep doing it. This is what the I guess the engine's gonna look like with the PCV system installed. The engine cover fits perfectly. I mean, it's just tucks right back there, so obviously it's visible. This I'm not a big fan of, but I think it looks great. Everything is accessible, and I mean, if you really have to get to any part of the system, it's as easy as taking this engine cover off. You can get to all your connections back there. You can get to your connection here. The 2 down there are actually very easy to get to. These will pop right out, and then you can unscrew here, and that's the entire system.